Okay, so we're on. So welcome everybody to our first planning meeting of the Merrill year. Today is Thursday the 18th of May, and the agenda says the first item on the agenda is 1323, declarations of any disclosable pecuniary interest. Obviously, we suggest if you have any to note them now, but they can be declared at any point later in the agenda if you believe that you do have them. I suggest there's probably not many pecuniary interests unless you tell me otherwise. No, none shown. Thank you. 1423, apologies for absence.
I have apologies from Councillor Peters.
Peters, okay. So then 1523, the minutes, we're confirming the minutes of the Planning Committee which were held on the 14th of March, which were received by full council. Those that were on the previous council, I would ask, are they happy for me to sign them as a true record? Yes.
Yes.
Right, thank you. 1623, planning applications to consider. So we move on to the plans that have been submitted now, and what we usually do is allow Tina to give us a little overview about what they're proposing, and then we do have the plans scattered around the room, but also they will displayed on the screen above. But obviously Tina can only do one page at a time there, whereas we can get a bit more of an overview. If you do wish to stand up and have a look at the front bit, the diagrams, please do so. We're not got the public with us, although if they were here, I would still suggest that it's better for you to have a look at the plans to understand what you're looking at, rather than saying, well, I'm not sure what's going on. The majority of planning matters that come through are pretty much uncontentious, but there is usually one or two on the agenda that causes us a little debate. But anyway, we'll go through that as we come. So Tina, take us through number A, 349, extension to 318 John's Way, please.
Okay, so the proposal is for an extension to the front of the property. So this is the site map of the property. I'm sure that you're all over the area. So what they're looking at is they will seek to build a single-storey extension to the front of the property. The extension will be 2.2 metres wide and 4 metres long. The eaves height will be 2.6 and its maximum height will be 3.5. The extension will be in line with the existing external walls of the host property. So what you've got is the existing, and this is what they want to go to. There will be a window on the wall on the front elevation of the extension, and there will be a skylight on a pitched roof, because pitched roofs is a preference to flat roofs normally. And the proposed brickwork will match with existing brickwork of the host property. Looking on the portal, there was no additional comments from other council officers, organisations or residents.
I normally invite any comments, positive or negative, about this matter. Obviously, I know you're still finding your feet. To me, it looks as though it's a pretty uncontentious one. Existing footprint. The pitched roof is preferred to flat roofs, both in aesthetic ways, but also from the household's point of view. You don't have to repair them so often when you. So we would normally say whether a supporter or an objector. Councillor Wood. I just wondered if there's a precedent for that along the row or in the area. For this
Extensions. Yeah.
So if there's no,
as you know, we're in a biodiversity crisis, and I would love Thetford to be a town that kind of insists on all developments being aiming for biodiversity net gain, and even small developments like this could incorporate some, bird nest sites in them. You can get very simple nest bricks now that can be built into the walls. So I wondered whether Breckland has a policy that tries to encourage that, and can we kind of support that?
There is a change of planning policy coming up, and actually now they have to, when they put in the proposals, they have to, as part of the design proposal, they have to put in all the factors that mitigate all the environmental needs of the property. So yeah, it's now part of what has to be submitted along with the planning.
Great, thank you.
You know, at the moment on this one, we wouldn't have anything in
It's
there.
it's a householder one as opposed to a full or listed rebuild or a outline. So there is different types. So your full tends to be like if they're developing a building, say to be multiple occupancy, or they're developing shops or retail or something like that. They already have to have that attached to it as part of the design and access statements. I do actually send them out. Some of them a bit weighty. They average about 8 or 9 pages, but some of them are 60.
So one of the things that we spoke about at the previous council was to have some aid memoirs really of common things that we can refer to mention, you know, if these. So I think we're in the process of developing that. That may come about as part of the training.
I do. Which one's this one? I think actually this one might actually have one with it. Right, so you have a design and access. I'll bring it round and show you if you want to pass it around. I did actually send it out. But what you get now is these.
So where they would fall foul and not doing things, we would then try to refer to that specific item within either the national policy or Beckland, or even as Thetford Town Council, we did put forward our own policy, which has got statutory weight. At the same time, we try to say this is our preference. Things.
Be within it. So, and I do actually send all these out. It's with made within the NPF, which is the national. So you're welcome to have a
All right, thanks.
peruse.
Thank you.
Right, so just
As far as I know, Terry's on his way.
Was he? Okay.
You know, I've been at the same meeting.
right.
All right.
Okay, so we're just considering the first one, Mike, which is 318 St John's Way, small extension to the front of the property. Yeah, Chris.
One question there. Brecon have a policy in there, skip boxes, back boxes, etc., that are put in on. As new builds, etc. And they've just unfortunately put me on their planning committee, so this is something we're going to push forward.
Oh, excellent.
So
But that's on new builds rather than adaptation.
and redevelopments like the old one at Market Street, bits and pieces. So
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you. Yeah, that's great.
and teach me a bit about this type of.
Yeah, sure.
So what I would suggest is that there's no objections, then we put ourselves down as a supporter for this. Agreement for that?
Yeah.
So can I just confirm the statement is supporter, no additional comment?
I don't think there's additional comments.
What happens is tomorrow morning, I have to go and load the final statement, the chair, onto the planning portal. And then that comes up as Thetford Town Council's response to the planning application. That everything I said that goes on there.
But just for people's information, there's like a planning cycle. And we have to get ours in before Brecon consider it. So sometimes we'll have late planning applications coming in, which we know we've got to consider because the next Brecon planning meeting is coming up. We can get it our future. So anyway, moving on to B then, 385, demolition of an existing conservatory, proposed 2-storey extension to 32 Rosecross Way.
So, so the proposal is, let me just show you this again. So you'll see that plans vary as to how they lay them out. And you will find that some of them vary in quality. Some of the plans we get are actually hand drawn and not by architects. So not today. So this is the site map. So, and this is the, just have a look, that's existing, yeah. I'll move all my slides along. And this is what they want to go to. So what it is a proposed rear two-storey extension following demolition of the existing conservatory. There will be a new ground floor door and a new first floor window to the southeast elevation. The bricks and tiles are to match the existing, so that's red multi-brick grey pan tiles. And it has a sloped roof, and it is similar to other extensions in the area. And that's just their internal plan.
There's one on that. Yeah, it's the one on the corner that's been developed, that was just been bought.
Okay, so if, could we just go back to the plan, the initial site plan?
Yeah.
Just give us a little bit more insight. The left, top left, right there, Rose Croft Road.
Any more additional bedrooms will it give? Is it, do you know that? It's
Going on the internals. So it is literally one above the conservatory.
Yeah.
There's quite a few actual, recently there's been quite a few additional people expanding their houses.
But it's a reasonably sizable plot, because that's one of the things we look at, whether, you know, they overdevelop and then you've got end up with no garden whatsoever. In looking at the plan, there's still a amenity around
It's recently purchased and they've developed the land at the front, so they're clearing a lot of the garden out to enable further parking. Because it actually goes.
Do you want me to go to the site map?
Yeah. It does go right down to here, so whereas it finished there, they're now going right down to the point so they've got more parking. So if it does have additional bedrooms, it's not going to be an
That's why I
issue.
was thinking about putting pressure on the parking spaces.
Yeah.
So any further comments? Hazel?
So it was one story before and now it's two stories, is that right?
So they had a conservatory which they're going to take down. So they're rebuilding the lower floor where the conservatory was and building the extra bedroom on top of the footprint of the conservatory.
So do we need to think about issues such as the new second story or additional floor overlooking other gardens and things like that?
I think in this case, I don't think it's too badly situated, isn't it?
No, I don't think it is.
Because where they're overlooking,
It's not somebody else's garage.
yeah.
That's the existing.
So this is kind of where it is, isn't it? So they've got all this garden here, and that's somebody's garage, so they're not looking directly into another house. But it can be a consideration. Yeah.
So just if it helps, then you're not all going to be able to see.
The thing is, have a back
But-
window anyway.
That's the conservatory at the back there, and it looks out onto the blank wall at the back, and they've got a sizable wall that goes all around the garden. So that's going to go, and that's what it is from the front. That helps.
Further comments? Are we happy to support then?
Has
Sorry, no.
there been any comments from anyone else about it?
No. There's no additional.
Okay. Happy to support?
Yeah.
Jim? Moving on to C then, proposed single-storey front and rear extension at Almond Grove. Seems to be the flavour of the day.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. There is several. Everybody's kids are moving back from uni. So, yeah, so it literally is a single story front and rear extension with materials to match white PVC. Let me just go on to, that's the old one. Let's go across a minute. There's 60 slides for us to enjoy. Okay. So you can see where they're putting the extensions on the different elevations there. Let me just try and get to. So unfortunately, the bits you're really interested in are the very small diagrams at the top. It may be better for yourselves to have a look. It's the third row along. And even on that, I'm afraid, go up to this, the top one you want to look at, Ron. Unfortunately, it's still a very tiny set of diagrams. As I did say, they do vary in quality, the plans that we are sent.
This came up before, didn't it?
Yes, I believe it did, Chris. Yeah.
Yeah,
The person looked at it.
yes. Have a quick look on got anything else in. Oh, maybe your assistance.
Just for looking at, you know, the on street view that Matt's got up, you've got a garage at the front with a flat roof extension bit, utility room.
Oh, yeah.
And then you've got at the back of the house, it's another flat roof thing, so there's a bit of a hodgepodge of
Yeah.
pieces there.
It's, yeah.
They did go for pre-application advice, which has been cleared as being the proposal is now acceptable.
Have the neighbours raised any complaints, objections or anything?
As of last night, there was no comments on there.
Obviously, that doesn't mean there won't be any, but
Fine,
just what's on the.
Because literally
portal.
they upload live, so
fine.
some tomorrow.
It's a bit like it's rationalising what's there,
Yeah,
making a bit more sense of it. So,
have we got any further concerns? Four to them?
Abstain.
Yeah, abstain, okay.
I know I have a pecuniary interest, but I know the family, so I'll keep one, there's one out.
Abstain. Okay, that's number D, then 401 29 Woodlands Drive, a single front and side extension this time.
Is that? 401. Confused, 401, 402 and 403. So this is I feel like I'm on QVC. This is a single story front and side extension to create a new porch and side bedroom linking to the garage area and to create a new dining room kitchen. So so that's basically a porch, a side bedroom and a new diner kitchen is what is being developed. So that's brick and block to match existing. So that's pitch tiled and flat roof UPVC to match. And there is a comment from Highways, and Highways put that in order that 2 cars can be parked as shown. Is that the one that we're on?
Top roof there.
Yeah. It will be necessary to relocate the existing lighting column at the cost of the applicant and widen the existing access to accommodate both cars. This needs to be shown on new drawings for avoidance of the doubt with the dimensions of the parking spaces.
So whether Matt just wants to show that because it's quite a good visual thing.
Yeah, I'll try and bring this round to everybody rather than, yeah, that's the one. So I guess the thing really is that there's a porch, a carport at the side already. And you can see that obviously that's that post who won't move in. But it's going to go out over the side, isn't it?
That's a good question. Is it possible someone who's really tech to be able to put those pictures up there?
We did talk about this, and Matt was talking about how to do things. Obviously, Tina's got control of all the slides, but to do
We
two
would have to
things.
keep coming out of this to then find it on
Okay.
that,
Right. Just,
unless we have,
We could have a
we could
separate
have another
screen,
screen. Oh, see.
which I think.
We have got a screen, but
Yes.
it's a huge screen. But we have got another screen that potentially we could set up another laptop, have it
Yeah.
somewhere.
So we could have Matt operating that side.
So well, if Councillor McDonald's happy with that, well, perhaps we'll try and trial that next month.
Yeah, if we can clear it up, that's
Okay.
fine.
Yeah, but
I think it is very useful.
What could possibly go wrong?
So you mentioned it that a while back then.
I think particularly when we've got so many, you tend to forget and the drawings don't look like what you've got, even if you've gone to see the house, you go, is that the one?
It's difficult to
Yes.
see it for a while. It's
Just rolling back to where we are, there's another bedroom being added, I presume.
Yes, so that, yeah. So, let's go on.
The carport visually doesn't look great to me anyway, so they're tidying that up. But at the same time, it will put pressure on if we get another bedroom, more vehicles potentially linked to it.
Yeah,
Can I ask, is
Yeah.
the front extension, is that going to bring the building line forward, or is it's going to be further forward than the nearby buildings? That's not something we normally encourage, is it?
No.
let me just go down to that one, there you go.
In fact,
By how much? What's the difference? In line with the other one.
let's see what the difference is. Yeah. No.
401. So they have changed the plan, what highways are saying is they need to change the plan to allow for the second car parking
But that's only
space.
just, they go to
Yeah.
on there. I'm thinking that they might be extending where the carport is rather than bringing it forward from the building line of lights.
We have an idea where because an aspect's going to need to be moved, right?
Yeah.
It's just, you can see it on the.
Yeah.
Do we know where? Like, is that going to?
That'll
Be
just
up
be
to
to one
highways.
side, yeah.
It's just so that what they're doing, they're losing car parking spaces up the side. They now want to park on where the grass is.
Yeah.
To get on there, they need to move
Yeah.
it. They move.
Don't need to be a bit on the road as well, right now.
No, because they still drive in that way. It's just the lamps are too close to where they're going to access it.
So are you saying that the owners of the property now want to park on the verge?
No, they park on their front garden
They're
basically.
going to park on the front garden?
Yeah. Because they've got a car parking space, then they've got a carport where they've got another car parking space, and at the back of that is their garage.
Right.
Well, if they build where
All
the
in
carport
tandem.
and the garage is, they're going to lose that. They'll have one car parking space. So they
Where are they gonna-
have a parking space and then turn it.
Where are they going to park? If it's like
On their grass. Well,
on the grass out the front?
well, it will be on wherever they develop.
Hmm.
That's not on the plan.
Showing the car being.
It'll be on the,
Are there any existing objections to this?
Only what highways have said.
All right. Nothing.
I think we should, when we comment, support the highways comments. It seems very sensible from a safety point of view. There is a speed issue along Woodlands Drive. And, you know, if highways are commenting, then we should support them with that.
Support subject to highways.
With support subject to compliance with highways.
Yeah.
Recommendations.
Yep. Okay, so on to E then, extensions, but this is a McDonald's change of sign, so we've got both E and F here. One's a aluminium cladding associated works, and the other one is a replacement of illuminated fascia signage. So there are some diagrams to the fourth column along there with the green roof.
So yeah, that's the site in case you've never been to McDonald's. Little bit. Okay, so it's the existing elevations at the top and the proposed at bottom. It is an installation of a new folded roof concept comprising of aluminium cladding and associated works, installation of new and replacement fascia signage. So it's a new clip-on roof, composite aluminium on 3 elevations and a pure white canopy with khaki green insert over the one drive-through booth. Anybody want to buy that? No?
Any comments? I think.
What service is it?
McDonald's will have to.
No, but I mean, what does it, yeah, what purpose does it serve?
I should imagine it's one of their rebrandings.
Yeah,
They're just rebranding all their,
corporate colour schemes.
Yes.
Nothing to comment? Supporter? Thank you. What we tend to do is, if it was in a conservation area, with loads of old buildings, we would have probably a bit more concern about what it is, but giving us up on the industrial units or retail park doesn't make too much difference.
Don't judge me, but I did go up there the other day. And, don't.
Well, don't you own it?
Just have a look.
Yeah, no, I don't own it, unfortunately. But they do really look after all the planting around the edge. So one of those McDonald's that really keeps it clean. I think we're quite lucky in that respect, whoever holds that franchise. So,
We have complained, I know Terry's in the past about the litter and that, so it is an ongoing thing. Just keep an eye on it really to make sure.
They've improved significantly in the last 12 months. So.
Yeah. Okay, then on to G413, 2 Charlotte Road. There's a provision of home office first floor garage roof. Have we had this one before?
We have.
Yes.
So they're changing, is this the one that they used to have the external staircase on the outside that they didn't look like the look on?
Okay.
So I think they've done away with the external staircase, I think, on this one.
Actually.
No,
Well,
you
was
present what we've got in front of you. 'Cause, it just seems very familiar.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what they've said is, that they are happy with the application, subject to the office being for personal use. This is highways, and not to be like, not for personal use, I guess, for commercial reasons. So what it does entail is there's going to be 2 dormer windows on the existing garage roof. So it's weatherboard cladding to the dormer walls. The roof will be an extension of the existing materials and finishes, and that's grey roof membrane finish. So as long as the office is only for personal use, highways have no objection.
So just in terms of the office going to be there, how are they getting upstairs to it? Because it's 2 garage spaces at the moment. They're putting a little staircase to the left there.
Yeah.
Right? So
So
basically
it's internal, there's a
losing one
post-
car parking space with inside if you've got a staircase there.
Yeah. So they've put it internally as opposed to externally.
Did you want to just show the?
yeah, it might be quite interesting on a car parking point of view because, whether or not they use it as a garage, so if you know where that is, there's Tesco's behind. As you come away from Tesco's, the first house on the right-hand side is the large house. The garage is where they're going to take away the one side of it and put the dormer windows in. But obviously, it's a joint drive with the other house next door. So, if they've got loads of cars going in there, they've now got one less parking space. So it's only one.
But most people, or many people, if they've got a normal garage, modern cars don't fit in the garages anyway. So they use it for bikes, lawnmowers, and God knows what else.
Yeah.
My car doesn't fit, or even Anna's car doesn't fit in our garage.
And
So it's storage rather.
right, David. It's one of the it's one of the things that we talk about quite a lot because if we already know people don't use their garages,
Yeah,
so that automatically means they're going to be on the road.
absolutely.
All our modern developments are 1 car deep, if that. Most of them might be 4-bedroom houses, so that's 2 kids. You might have a trade van there as well, which ends up on the verges. So the parking is an issue for us. I know that the big world development is we're all going to be going to work on hoverboards. So we don't need these parking spaces. But the truth is, we're overrun with people parking.
That's for future developments where we ought to be able to try and control future developments, whereas people are living with what they've got now.
But even on Cloverfields, as we look at it now,
Yeah.
parking on the greens there's complaints about it.
Oh, yeah. You drive through it, yeah.
Shocking. So it's a consideration, no more than that, really.
Yeah.
I mean, so in fairness, in this area, though, I don't think there's many parking on the drive around there, and it looks like they've got ample space just on this point.
Yeah.
Because there are dark ones in Cloverfield, but it doesn't seem where they're applying.
But could I clarify, has this been rejected or has this been revised by them
I think it's a revised.
It's a revision. They've put the staircase.
Instead of being rejected necessarily.
I think
People tend to withdraw if they think they're not going to get it done and then just get it redone.
Any particular comments on the specific one?
any comments.
No, there's no additional, only the request from highways that it is subject to the office being for personal use only.
I note the presence of 2 nest boxes on the end wall, so they get a gold.
Is that what we have to do? We have to put nest box in there, okay. Or something the Carnegie.
Has it been confirmed it is for both?
We can put it on our
Not
garden.
on the plan.
I think what the planning authority, the question was, has it been confirmed whether it's for personal use? I think the planners are just making that as a thing that they're happy to go along with it. But
You don't need to confirm that with us.
you know, that if it does get used for commercial use, say somebody rents it out to another office, then that's the enforcement application, and whether Bretland would come back and do it is another matter. But well, we have support.
Yep.
Yep. Thank you. On to H then. The telecommunications tower retrospective at 13 Berry Road.
Yeah, so we've been warming you up with some nice household equipment. So this one, that's my notes on it. So this is a proposed telecommunications installation. And actually what they did do is they requested to amend the actual nomenclature because they didn't put before that it was retrospective. So they have actually changed it so it says that it's a retrospective application. So the proposed telecommunications installation is a 23.55 metre CommScope temporary tower on concrete blocks supplied by the tower manufacturer and associated ancillary works. So the temporary site is at 13 Berry Road and has been in situ for a period. And this temporary full planning application is to formalise matters while a permanent solution is sourced, built and integrated into the network. It is proposed that it is a 12-month temporary development. There has been several objections, 10 from at least from residents at the last count. With their, rather than going into the individuals, the bullet pointed areas that their main objections lie within are that it is an eyesore, and it's not in keeping with the character and appearance of the surrounding conservation area. There is fear over recent research that highlights potential health issues of the location in the mast, that the mast is positioned in a densely populated area, and that there is a question of the illegality of the mast due to the application being retrospective. So that's the ones that have come from the residents. The Historic Environment Service have put that if planning permission was granted, we would ask that there be subject to a programme of archaeological mitigatory work in accordance with the National Planning Policy Framework. And they suggest that conditions were imposed, and that would be that no development shall take place until an archaeological written scheme of investigation has been submitted to and approved by the local or planning authority in writing, and that assessment should include the significance of the site and the programme and methodology of the site investigation and recordings, and the programme for post-investigation assessment, provision to be made for the analysis of the site investigation and recording, provision to be made for publication and dissemination of the analysis and records of the site investigation, provisions to be made for archive deposition of the analysis and records of the site investigation, and nomination of a competent person or persons or organisation to undertake the work set out within the written scheme of the investigation. Alternatively, no development should take place, or the development site should not be occupied until the site investigation and post-investigation has been completed.
But just to clarify, we've got the mast up on these blocks. They're saying that that all needs to happen. Is that they're going to have to take the mast down and do that? Or are they saying for the permanent structure that they're looking to do, that's
Yeah.
going to be happening?
Yeah, because the temporary structure's already there.
Yeah.
So the historic building officer asked if there was less visually intrusive alternatives. And the environmental health officer said that they looked at the application submitted and based on the information provided to them at this time, there are no objections or comments on the ground of environmental health protection, providing the development proceeds in line with the application details. The tree officer also offered no objections. There is a telecommunications mast piece of legislation, as Alan and I have just discovered. And it is quite heavily in favour of the telecommunications company. And even if the licence has expired, they can keep their equipment there.
I know in the past we've had, Terry remembers when we've had them in various other places, your hands are pretty tied in what you can object to. That sounds as though that legislation is there to favour of masts being there. I know we've had them in the past and they don't look great, but it seems the modern world is getting the preference of masts going up everywhere.
On the aesthetics, okay, it's ugly, but we need better communications, telecommunications. It's sort of holding so many people back. And we want the town to have better communications. So to me, it's like a no-brainer. We need it.
I think
it's not pretty, I understand that, but we need better communications.
I think one of the things we've questioned, I will come to you, Terry, is that when you've got different masts being with different operators, because there's one on
It's all over the place.
one on the Chase traffic lights
Yes.
there, one a big one, that's quite close to this one, but
Yeah.
I don't know,
It'd be fantastic if they're all together, wouldn't it?
it would.
Yeah.
Terry, you wanted to come in?
Yeah,
That'd be done.
I always take a bit of a dim view about retrospective planning applications. They should go through the proper process, and companies of this size, frankly, should know better. So that's the first point. Just because they are likely to receive planning permission doesn't mean they should bypass the process. We do need better infrastructure, but it should be in the right locations. And I don't think in a conservation area, first and foremost, but also in a high profile location next to a busy road, next to a school, and literally within meters of residential properties. I can understand why people in Star Lane are not happy. So I would be against this. And the wider issue is that these types of infrastructure should be shared. You know, different networks, different operators having their own masts is the real issue here. They should be, should be national legislation that they are forced to share the same infrastructure, not having lots of these things popping up all over the place. But I suspect it will be approved. But I don't think we should just give in to that, and I think we should object.
Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I must agree. I've had several conversations with residents. It's in the wrong place. It's in the conservation area. And I'm really sick of us being bullied by these technical giants telling us that we've got to have these masts where they want to put them. We had the ones at the Transferal Centre which they put in, and we were told back in the day we couldn't object because they had government here saying to do what they want, which is not right.
Plus, it could affect the property value for reselling the houses. If you want to.
So I'm going to object.
I'm happy to go along with that. And we need telecommunications, and it needs to be better. But if it could be put, as has been mentioned, if it can be put in one location on one tower, great. I want more, I want it better, I want it quicker. But I'm happy to go along with what they're saying if that can be done, most certainly. It makes sense, then, and definitely as Terry said about they should know the procedures. And retrospective seems wrong, but I want better communications because we're in a desert at times.
So can I just clarify, this is for the temporary mast? And
Yes.
going to be needs for a future planning application where if they intend, which I presume they will intend to put a permanent mast up there, which would be a separate application.
Yeah, they could come back with a permanent one, twice as high,
And that would come back to
that
us.
would come back as a application. So they're just trying to, get themselves in order really by putting this retrospective one in. But, so what's the feeling? Oh, sorry, Tom.
Have we not previously got them painted different colours as well?
We've usually
we
asked
not
them
get
to
one
be
green?
green.
We had this issue before in our planning applications where we did ask them to paint green because of the proximity to the roads and everything, which is visually anesthetic. So we couldn't really fight them off with the marks there because like Gary said, they used to put them whatever they want. Can't really refuse. We don't really have the power to go against them because, like it says, this company giants, they tend to get away with their planning applications, quite strong on that. All we can do is I'm gonna tweak a few things and see what we can get away with to improve the situation for our residents. And sometimes it's just painting the structure just so it blends in visually. I'm not sure if it's gonna be sufficient for a structure of this size, clearly.
It's a flag on the top.
And I can't blame the residents for being upset about it. I can understand their concerns. You do have a point. It is a temporary structure, but there's no guarantee that the other one will be 3 times worse than this one. We find ourselves in a bit of a conundrum. And yes, we need better communications, but not necessarily on top of people's houses. I would agree. That's just my opinion.
Matt and then Doug.
Has the school commented at all? Be interesting to see what they think.
Presume there's nothing showing on the schools.
I can have another quick look on the portal. Hang on.
Well, it used to be used by the school at one point, but then it's reverted back to the industrial unit.
Let me just have a look.
It's just there. And then Mike.
I was basically going to, I think, just follow up on that point and just say, I think if it's one of those situations where essentially they're going to get through, we can put down our objections, which I think seems fair and right, but they're probably working out what we can do to mitigate it. And if we can make any suggestions to mitigate it ourselves, I don't know if there are anything we can propose, but I'm just wondering if we're going to put an objection on record, because we think the way they've done it is poor, maybe we can say we object it, but we'll be more minded to consider it if there was more going into it. I don't know if that's a consideration we can do. I just thought I'd discuss it.
Mike, you're saying.
Well, this is our town. As a council, we are responsible for protecting good things in our town. As it must include conservation areas. I'm not sure what it's worth conserving if you're allowed to put telecoms masts in the middle of it. So I think as a matter of long-term good sense, we as a council should oppose it and not be too worried by what Repton might decide afterwards. I don't think that should influence our decision. I don't think we should say Repton might turn it down, therefore we shouldn't say no. I think we should say no if we think that's the appropriate response, which I do, as Terry's pointed out already and others have. It's a conservation area and we should be there, the fighters, to conserve. Otherwise, why bother having conservation areas?
It's just something else, the geese are flying too, isn't it?
Does it say why they've chosen this location? Do we know that?
I think when it came up as a town centre site that was available, and I suspect there's no anything other than that, and they knew they had to get some temporary coverage, so they stuck it up there. And
Because it went up during COVID, didn't it?
yes, I remember it going up. So are we happy to object then? I'm just reading the room.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to the portal. Sorry, it's not letting me in.
No, okay. So the object.
I couldn't possibly comment, Councillor Dillon.
So we need to specify some grounds on the objection. So
Yes.
we've talked about being a conservation area. Do we want to talk about the potential health issues, whether they're not proven, but there is, evidence that make
So not in keeping in a conservation area.
Yeah.
That you support residents' concerns about potential health issues.
It's the aesthetics, it's ugly.
You want to sell your house.
It's a heritage, it's a conservation area, it's the aesthetics. Yeah.
This does highlight a really good point. So we spent a long time talking about this where, windows and conservatories and stuff, we're all quite comfortable with doing this. This heritage bit and our conservation areas, I think this is where we need our training because we're struggling to fight
And then
this, even though we all passionately believe it's in the wrong place. I think that's the one.
If I may add, Tina's point that she looked into the how strong they can enforce their licenses even after the private, still keep the structures there, which means it's not easy to argue our case against these larger companies. We're not trying, by no means we think this is going to be an easy fight and they're just going to get them to make the structure. I don't see that happening. All we can do is like them say, put our feet down and just keep. Is right, you know, we can't just say yes just for the sake of saying it. If we disagree, and that should be our position, my point of view. But by no means I'm saying that's going to be easy against this type of companies because we had this issue before. It never is.
Hazel, then thank you.
We're not objecting to a 5G tower. We're objecting to the location.
Yeah.
So there should potentially, I would imagine, be more conversation that can be had about the location rather than us saying, no, we're not having this tower in our town.
But it would, the application before is on a specific site, so we object to that site. Yeah, that's up to them to try and find somewhere more suitable. Tina.
So I was just about to say, the objections that I raised before from the residents was not in keeping with the character and appearance of the surrounding conservation area. There over recent research that highlights potential health issues, positioning in a densely populated area, legality of mast due to application being retrospective, and would you also not want to put in reconsideration of location in the future?
I think we would suggest that a more suitable location should be sought for.
And request a more suitable location.
Yeah.
Excuse me. The person that put that up can't just have gone in there and put a mast up without various HFE legislation and whatever. How do they get? How is it arrived at a mast they just put up without any consent whatsoever? How does that happen in a town like this?
It's very much up to the enforcement of the planning authority. If you put something up in your garden, then somebody wouldn't come round and they were told it was there. So I suspect
there's building control. There's rules and regulations about how you construct.
But unless somebody complains to Breckland about that, say you need to be looking at this. Breckland are 25 miles away in Dereham.
Right.
They're not looking out of their window on it. So it's up to us to put on guard. The enforcement team to come out and say, well, hold on, it's like licensing, a lot of licensing issues. You carry on doing it until somebody stops you or that. So the guy who's obviously got the land has agreed with the operator to say, well, I'll rent you the land to put this thing on. They've come in, done that. Whether it was overlooked or whether they have chosen to just go ahead and we'll think about the consequences later. I don't know, but Breckland not have the ability to go and slap them on the knuckles and say, well, hold on, you shouldn't be here. And that's what's happened eventually here. It's taken a while, but it's finally got to.
A very poorly funded service, planning enforcement.
Poorly funded?
What I will discover as a Breckland councillor, we have a very hands-off approach to enforcement in Breckland, which is very frustrating.
But that's going to change, isn't it?
I like your optimism.
I was going to say, it's helpful, I like it.
Okay, so I think
I'm sorry, I sympathise very much with what's just been said. It is a concern, and I think it is easy to get cynical about Breckland. There is a feeling that enforcement is the weak link in many aspects of Breckland's policy. And what they're saying is it's up to members of the public to point out what's wrong, and then we can do something about it. So it's very much us as councillors and citizens of being the eyes of Breckland, because they don't have their own eyes. It's cheaper that way.
Okay, so we've got all we want there, Tina?
Yes.
Thank you. That one then. Hopefully we're on to a little less contentious one. 418. Breckland Council works to the external rear wall of 30 Raymond Street. So there's two aspects to that. I've got I&J, Tina.
Yeah, I'm just noting the time that the land is left.
So this is the old bed and breakfast, which has been taken over by Brecon Council now to subdivide to house and multi-block occupancy. They've been doing some repair works here. We've had a couple of things come forward.
Yeah, so this is the listed building bit. So this application site is currently arranged as a cellar, ground and first floor. It's a grade 2 listed building with a slight gradient, and it was formerly used as a bed and breakfast, now currently a single dwelling. The application site is accessed from Raymond Street. So let me just go back up to here. And vehicular access is possible from Nether Row. The property will provide temporary accommodation for single people. No major changes have been proposed internally and externally, and the property will retain its traditional character and maintain the flint stone finish to the external walls. So this is actually talking about works to a wall as opposed to the building itself. So Highways have said there is no considerations relevant to this proposal as the existing access will be retained and used. There's no new access routes proposed. There's no new trees or hedging that have been put into the application, and no further landscaping is deemed necessary. There is no flooding implications. And the proposal aims to retain the contribution the building provides in its current setting. And this application is in a sustainable location in the town centre, adjacent to other dwellings.
But Max, just looking at there, the wall itself that I thought was a wall is just a fence by the look of it. So can we just see where the repair, is it to the actual building itself?
No, it's to the rear wall.
Yeah, but if you have a look at that, so.
Yeah. There you go, so it's to the rear, yeah.
So it is the wall of the wall.
I'll bring that round just so you can see, but yeah.
Okay, so it's the gable end wall.
Yeah.
Okay, there's not to do with
It's not
anything
the
about, but no,
Right,
it is the gable end wall that's being repaired. Which is fine.
So.
This came to planning before and we moaned about the parking and bin stores.
Yes, but this is the listed building as opposed to the full planning. So what they've done is they've gone, they may be redeveloping the other part of the property, but the listed bit, they've got the consent for the works on the wall.
Yeah, but there was never any external envelope with works anyway. It was all like subdivision.
Yeah.
So I think this is just purely the repairs to the wall, allowing it to be done.
Yeah.
This is building, so I think we're happy to support that.
Scaffolding's already up, so.
That's just holding it together.
Everybody's happy with that. Okay, so on to 425. Again, we've got two elements of this. There's both listed building consent, 3 Old Market Street. Those that notice the old brewery building which is being redone, I think it's more the outbuildings rather than the actual building itself. So there is a plan, I did notice.
So do you remember last time they were going to demolish stuff?
Yeah.
Well, they're not going to do that anymore because everybody said don't demolish stuff. So what's happened is they're going to retain the existing outbuildings. So what they did is they withdrew the last application that they put in and they've come back in. But this time, instead of demolishing the outbuildings, they're going to retain the shells of the outbuildings and use them for carports and bin storage. So as part of the previous application, it was proposed to demolish the outbuildings and erect a new structure for carports and bin storage. This has been amended and now proposed that they are adjusted, renewed and utilised as a shell for carports instead of being fully demolished. The existing outbuildings are located to the northern aspect of the site, which also overlooks the Castle Mount. And these are used as storage areas. The existing outbuildings are single storey and it is proposed that they remain single storey and that their footprint does not change. The layout of open carports and the bin store is to remain as per the approved applications. The existing outbuildings will generally maintain the existing character of the building. The new section of the roof will match the existing and the front wall will be open and incorporate posts to support the roof structure. The proposed works would not impact access to any other buildings and the main public access as well as emergency fire exits remain unaltered. The number of proposed parking bays remains the same as previously approved. The existing outbuildings are not listed. However, they contribute to the setting of the former listed malt house and adjacent structures. Keeping, renewing and utilising them as carports will have a positive effect on the settings of the conservation area and the listed buildings.
Any comments, concerns, Tony?
I think this is an improvement on what we had before and a wider point. And there's been so much development down Old Market Street in the last, 12 months. We're actually quite lucky there. Well, not lucky, they should be doing it, but the space they're allowing for the carports, I mean, so many developments are not allowing any parking in town centre locations. So I'm really pleased to see it. And if they're incorporating it into the old buildings, fine.
So my only question is, I think it's really good that they're doing it. The buildings that are there have pretty had it anyway. My worry is that from the Castle Park, what kind of bricks are going to be on there? They've told us what's going to be on the front.
I think it's going to be up pretty much
I think
open on
it
the
has
front.
to be, let me have a look.
Because when, most times of the year, you're going to be able to see straight into that.
But I don't think they're proposing to knock back walls down.
No, they're keeping them all
just
now.
opening the front for you to drive into.
Right, okay.
So whatever's there now is what you're going to be seeing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm happy to support, are we?
As long as they don't breeze block it like we have in other buildings.
I'll send the boys round if they do.
So 475, 21 to 25 Guildhall Street. I
Yes.
did circulate some concerns a resident had sent to me and Mac. I think that went round to the kids. We've all seen that. Tina, I'll let you just.
I have a few more to add to the list. So this is a proposed residential development consisting of 6 apartments. There has been several objections from residents and also there's been objections received which have been circulated today of non-planning nature. So the planning objections that have come through is that it is too large a development, that it should be flint faced to match the barn, that it's overdevelopment as there's already an HMO adjacent to the site. There is waste issues and it would cause an increase, particularly with fly tipping. There's fears of increases of antisocial behaviour and that the increase in traffic would cause enhanced parking issues. The Historic Building Officer has requested orthographic drawings or SketchUp modelling or similar to demonstrate how the proposed development satisfactorily, it's getting too late, sorry, satisfactorily responds to the established immediate context of the adjacent historic pattern or development as suggested within the National Design Guidance. And he deems that that is an important starting point in creating an appropriate addition to the established urban growth. They have put within the report, the design and access report, that the apartments would be highly energy efficient and that bin and cycle storage would be located within the proposed rear single-storey projection. It is to be constructed on a flat and level site with good access to front and rear doors, and that as standard, each ground floor apartment would be designed for disabled access with level thresholds to the principal entrances and accessible WCs with sufficient turning on the ground floor. Access to the 6 proposed apartments is via Pike Lane, and that there, although there is no car parking provided, there is several free car parks close to the development. Yes, the proposed low height and scale of the building and choice of external materials is the developer considers appropriate and sympathetic to the character of the existing site. And it's on land that's already within existing commercial residential area.
I think where do we start?
Yeah, I'm poised.
I've got one if you like. So on the aerial photograph that you look at it now, the big piece of ground, and when you look at it from Pike Lane, you all know it, it's had walls falling down, loads of rubbish in the back of it, it's a mess anyway. But there's generally about 3 or 4 cars in there now. So if that was all built on, those 3 or 4 cars, in addition to whatever anybody else has in the new development, are now going to be parking on Pike Lane, reducing the amount of parking for the public who travel in. That's my major concern. It can't make it look any worse because the place is a tip to look at now, and we've had other applications in on it, haven't we? So it would look nicer, but environmentally it would have quite an impact on the area.
Yeah, that's it. Chris?
I'm trying to work out how the people are going to get their bins emptied from the flats are at the back there already.
So
I
there's,
can't see how they're going to get past.
no, the only access, there isn't like an access tunnel, probably no wider than a wheelie bin. So if the commercial waste from the existing shops has got to go through there, I think they will struggle to get one of those big bins through. You might get a wheelie bin through, but I don't think you'll get those large ones.
Because also if there's a fire or something happens,
Yeah.
to get out. And also, I find it a bit rich that the person who's put this forward is saying this will tidy up that area. The person owns that area, why isn't he tidying it up anyway?
I think the other
I think because the second option doesn't make them money.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't argue with that, but I mean, it should be hammered because that's
That's what I
area
mean.
protect.
the link to that access with the bins that
Allegedly.
we're talking about, I have concerns that it will encourage antisocial behaviour. There are people with the footage of the guy next door that have shown some quite antisocial behaviour happening in there. With a narrow one like that, they might have to gate it. So you end up with a gated thing, which again makes cycles a bit more difficult to get in and out. Bins get more difficult. Carla?
I just say that not very long ago, I went to talk to one of the residents on the current flats, that section there. And the conditions of the flats are appalling. I'd suggest not only refusing the application, said they don't know to concentrate on improving the building as it is, rather than wanting to build more, because the current residents deserve it. And frankly, if the area looks miserable, you should see the flats inside, it's even worse. So my opinion is that this particular landlord, is not very concerned about who's living there, who's going to live there potentially even if this gets approved. Not concerned about how many apartments you can cram in one small space and how big it is.
Yeah, second to planning reasons, it's quite clearly overdevelopment.
Yep.
In my view. I mean, we're going to see as town centres get smaller over time. If every commercial shop in Thetford that was once a delivery area suddenly put residential, and then we're going to see more of this, and not appropriate as infill essentially. And the highways concerns about lack of parking provision. It's not acceptable to assume that car park is available or will remain available forevermore. It's a public car park that they don't own. And looking at the plans online, I had a quick look. I can't think of a better word to describe it other than cheap. It's a cheap development, not appropriate in a conservation area. This is a town centre, high profile location. We need a quality development, and this is not it.
Absolutely.
Chris?
Just one more, I mean, one of my major concerns about this whole thing is the fact that when visitors come to Thetford, they park in Pike Lane. This is what they see, and this development is not going to help.
So are we happy to object
Yes.
on the grounds of overdevelopment? The
Read the list.
yeah, you've got to be prepared one. We'll go with that, and then to we add
Okay, right,
anything
as we go along.
else. Thank you.
Okay, so the top one was it is an overdevelopment. It should be flint faced to match the barn and is not of a quality required in a conservation area. Yeah. Waste waste issues, particularly fly tipping, would increase. Antisocial behaviour issues would increase, and that there would be an increase in traffic and therefore increase in parking issues.
It's not responsible for the facts that he has got.
Not actually up to
Might be true, but it's not.
yes, but I can't put that as a planning.
It would remove the parking that the existing building has as well.
Yeah.
So it isn't
Yeah.
just the.
So,
So it's two
yeah,
prompts to the highways,
Yeah,
the removal of
remove.
existing parking and extra pressure being put on because of the new
And
development.
of course, as we were saying about bins, once you develop right up to the road, then any wheelie bins that come out are on the road or on, in the pedestrian's way, and they always get cleared up, do they?
so about the waste bins, what did you want to say about the waste bins? That the waste bins would have to be on the pedestrian.
Yes, and not only the new development waste bins, but also the current commercial bins would have to be put out onto the road and on the pavement.
Does that go under physical infrastructure?
In storage.
Sorry, Dan?
But does that also therefore cover it's not got the physical infrastructure to support it? It's if we're saying that it's going to have to move waste to the highway, that's just physical infrastructure, isn't there?
Just Nick Terry's tagline. Unacceptable proposal for bin storage. Put it all in together. Yeah, but I've got to
Okay.
learn the word cheap.
Right, I think we've probably got enough there, thank you.
Yes, that's it.
Okay, so you will be pleased to know.
Yep.
That's the end of the plans.
So 1723, any lates? No?
I thought that 12 on your first time out was enough.
Okay, so that's that one then. 1823, decisions of variance.
Yeah.
This is where we normally have a report back where we made a decision which is at variance to what we would have liked to have seen. And there normally are some.
Yes, I think we may have a few catch-up ones next
Yeah,
month. There has to be now.
So then we're on to 1923, the items referred to the Greater Thetford Partnership. Again, this is an item where something may have arisen within our planning discussions that we can't really put onto a specific objection, or it's raised something that long-term we want to be considered by the Greater Thetford Partnership. Greater Thetford Partnership is the group of Bretland, Norfolk, Thetford Town Councils, Pilston and Brethnam and Croxton councils that meet probably quarterly, Terry, is that fair to say? And the idea is to have this umbrella looking at all the issues for the wider town. Things come forward to there, and we report back as members of that partnership to the various councils. But this gives us an opportunity if we've come across something that, cycle lanes, what are you doing about, improved cycle or walking things? And that needs to be raised with the Greater Thetford Partnership, because we as a town council haven't got the ability to deliver that. Norfolk are the ones who are responsible, but it also, because we've got this massive growth to the north of the town, there are infrastructure strains that come about as a result of that thing, which should be being delivered as part of the planning process. And we all know it's very piecemeal, money is always tight, and sometimes none of those things that they ever promise come to pass, or there's milestones that the Section 106 money or the development money won't come forward until they've reached a number of houses. And so you might end up with a bus shelter or something there. You don't tend to get all what we'd love to have. And one of my bugbears is the walking and cycling in the town. We should be doing a lot more. We've made proposals, we've made reports, and nothing seems to come of it. But anyway, that's a bit of background to that item. You may not have anything tonight, but just, have the thoughts there. I think Carla wants to come in.
I was just gonna ask if wouldn't be worth to actually put the point forward that when it comes to infrastructure for the communication masses, that they need to be looked in as a whole, as a group of communication masses with allocations and within the infrastructure, that rather than deciding on in retrospective for every single mass that they pop out in different places in town. I wonder if this is not something to raise with the group, just to get the word out there and start that conversation about talking to those companies to find a better placement of these structures. or at least trying to get them to be
Put
more
that
mindful
forward.
about where they put them.
Members are happy, let's put that forward as a strategic thing that we can.
So,
raise.
yes. Location. I was just going to have a quick see if I could get into the local plan and see if they've got a bit on telecommunication ones. I don't know if there's a policy of telecommunication. I'll speak to Teresa.
Yeah. So we'll take that forward and I don't think the next meeting till July, is it, Terry?
I can't remember.
So 2023, then, this is the Suffolk County Council planning application. And again, a bit of background to this. Those that know the Barnham area, so it's on the Barnham to Elvedon Road. The landowner wanted to put in a quarry there, or the operator, I think Mick George is the operator. It's not in our patch, but at the same time, there are knock-on effects as a result of a quarry happening there, especially to do with traffic and the way that it's proposed to come through. And it would see quite a large amount of traffic coming into Thetford along Berry Road, which we all know is overloaded as it is, and can't really cope with that. It got through planning, and then it was reviewed, and I think it's still
It's
not
reviewed.
gone through because the tenant didn't sign the 106 agreement, which allowed the Suffolk County Council to say, well, if that's not going to happen, then it shouldn't be allowed to go through. So it's in abeyance at the moment. I suspect they may come back again, but we've put it on there because of the knock-on effects to Thetford. I know Terry went along or represented the local things when it did actually come up, but we've kept it on there because it has a knock-on effect to Thetford. That's why it's there. So 21-23 community engagement. Again, this is an agenda item which we may want to raise with the public. We've either made a decision or something come about as a part of our discussions that we want to put out there. It could be to do with a specific planning application, which could be quite contentious, or it could be a general thing where we've discussed it and we feel we want to impart the information to the public. But I don't think I'm aware of anything tonight that warrants that.
I would say if we're going to do training, then I think it's worth advertising the fact that we are doing training. Because at the moment, people often criticise us for being, keen amateurs. And it should look like we are trying to improve our skills and do the best for the town. So even if it is just a note that says we are doing training in order to.
It will get reported through personnel. The personnel aspect of that has to note what training staff and councillors attend.
But you're saying some of our critiques out there would, be good for us to show that we're actually skilling up.
Yeah.
Are we happy to put something out there to say that?
Yeah.
So, I think we can say that, team, that we're looking to provide training.
Rather than saying we're looking to provide training, which suggests that we need training, it would be better to do a photo of us doing the training. Hi, councillors have done some training tonight on planning. We should be, as Matt says, proud of the fact that we're constantly seeking to develop our own skills. Brecklin put tweets and stuff out saying councillors have attended this training today. We do training, so
we do, yeah. I think
training.
Whatever this, because of what we're proposing is probably you do it yourself online in your bedroom, rather than being in a big room.
A mock-up of a picture with somebody with a set on would be fine, wouldn't it?
Yes, I mean, the thing is I did say before the meeting that we've got now can come and do councillor induction actually in the room.
Yep.
But potentially that may have to be sort of like during the day, but there would be an overview of planning within that. And therefore, when you're all in here doing your thing, we can most definitely, we can put it out that, I've been arranging been talking to the new councillors and arranging the new training. So, that'll all be happening soon, sort of thing, as the new councillors prepare to take on their responsibilities.
So we'll do that then.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you. 22-23 committee officers update. This is again usually on the end of most of the agendas you'll see we've got this item which allows the officer in question to report back to the committee to say something might have happened since the agenda was issued or one of the supporting papers was prepared. I don't know whether you've got anything up your sleeve.
No, I haven't got anything today, but so we will look into getting an extra screen so we can do the street view for the next one. And like I say, if any of you are interested in doing the e-learning aspect, I will get an overall one done as well. But literally, if you sign up for it, they send you the link within like, I tried it first, obviously. They sent me the link within about an hour. So, I mean, that'll be pretty quick. And then you can do it at your own speed. And then obviously there's always something for you to actually refer back to as well, if that's helpful.
Hey, Terry, you on?
Yeah, just talking about emails and links. Apologies if you mentioned it at the start. Where are we at with town council email addresses for new members?
Okay, we've got the quote, we've paid or we're about to pay the money. So that should be with us shortly because it's about rearranging the licenses.
Yeah.
So that's what we've been purchasing the license. I mean, because what we did last year is we arranged to sort of like get licenses at a cheaper rate. So we just got to go back and sort that out because we knew that they were going to go up. So a bit of money saving.
I don't know if there's any other business particularly, but our concern was raised yesterday at the May meeting about a mature tree that had been removed on Vicarage Road and whether or not there was going to be replacement trees planted elsewhere. I don't know if this is the right place to discuss things like that or where that should be discussed.
We would normally not have any other business on any committee, but at the same time, it probably sits best under this planning. And we've finished the meeting, we can't make a decision on anything because it's not an agenda item.
Yeah.
But we can ask the officer to come with any information and bring us up to speed.
I would say if you've got anything like that, email us prior to the meeting and give us a chance to find the actual answer out for you. I mean, you don't have to wait for meetings. If you have a question like that, just email us and ask us and we'll try and find out the answer for you.
Yeah, so I don't think we're in a position to answer that at the moment, Ron, but outside the meeting, Tina might be able to help on that respect.
Thank you.
I ask how the residents who raised objections to the planning applications we've considered tonight get feedback.
If it's an individual raising the objection, what they do is they either email Breckland or they go onto the Breckland planning portal and they actually put their objection in under the application. It comes up with, you have the ability to put a comment on it, and that's how they do it. What we cannot do is forward people's objections for them. We can discuss what their objections are and the councillors can come up with their own comments on that, but what we don't do is pass them to Breckland.
But when you say feedback,
What I'm wondering is how do they find out what the decision was and what the council
from this council or from Breckland?
hours?
Goes into the minutes.
Okay, so they have to know.
But there is a recording.
Yeah, or they can watch us on YouTube.
Would it, sorry, if there's not many objections though, wouldn't it be nice if we as a council could go back to that person? Because there's not that many objections raised, go back on a personal level and say, this is the outcome of the objection that you've raised.
But usually if a request goes to the clerk, and the clerk will answer that, and that can be done that way.
The person who has been communicating with us directly, we've been going backwards and forwards through them, and we will.
But it's a nice decision.
Yes, we will close the circle on that tomorrow. Yeah.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Thanks.
So if there's nothing further, then I'll call the meeting to a close and thank everybody for their attendance, and hopefully we're not putting you off for next month.
Thank you.
I thought you two might be interested.